If you're new here, my name is Michael, and I get to interview some of the world's most interesting people in business, the innovators, the founders, and the entrepreneurs who are building the future. It's all on the table. And I do that because my mission in doing the iwon podcast is to show people that it wasn't overnight and it takes time to build something great. From people who've been there, done it, and got the t-shirt. My next guest is amazing. This is one of those authentic, incredible conversations where we cover so much that I guarantee you'll walk away with something that will help you move forward, whether you've got your idea and you're running with it or you're in the middle of it and you're building something. My next guest is a guy who's worked in the Bay Area in San Francisco, London, Berlin, and he's had a 25-year unshakable passion for music, and he knew he wanted to do something in it. On this episode, Mr. Scott Truitt, the CEO and founder of Sawtooth, his aim is to bring fans and artists closer together, and he's taking on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, you name it. I know you will get so much out of this, because that is why I'm doing this. To make it genuinely useful, no bullshit, no agenda. My next guest is Mr. Scott Truitt. Here we go.
I may still fail. I may still flop. I could run out of money. I could run out of energy or what have you, but I couldn't not try this.
He said, get out now before it's too late. And I said, what do you mean? I can't get the same salary to maintain my current lifestyle doing anything else. I'm stuck.
These things that never go away, you got to honor that. That pull is real. There's a part of you that knows that's where you belong, or there's something larger in the universe that's like, hey, the real work's over here.
That's far better than being stuck in a life doing a thing that you don't enjoy for money.
I'm just trying to build a thing that I want to exist, that I believe needs to be in the world, and I'm willing to pay the price to do it.
So today I am very, very excited to have on the podcast a man who is taking on Spotify. He has plenty of experience and he's diving into something that has been a passion of his. And I'm sure you'll learn so much from this podcast. My guest today is a chap called Scott Truitt. Hello, Scott.
Hey, Mikey, how are you?
Are you ready to dive into your story?
Absolutely. My favorite subject of all.
Of course. Obviously, when we do these, nothing's off the table. So Scott and I are going to dive into everything for you and really share his journey. And I guarantee that you will learn some amazing things from this. So first of all, Scott, we'll start with your journey.
Yes.
Leaving a very comfortable career for a 25-year obsession. Specifically, I'd love to discuss the first time that idea started burning in your brain and becoming a thing that you had to do at some point, whenever that would be, and how you came up with the idea for it.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks again for having me, Mikey. I'm really excited about this. I know some of the questions you're going to ask me. I'm sure there's plenty more I haven't even considered. This is really cool for me. So thanks again.
No
Let's
problem at
see.
all.
So I'll date myself here, but we go all the way back to the late 90s, which is when I had sort of the first round of ideas for this thing. And the beginning of the 90s were really all about music for me. My friends made music. We threw parties. We had record labels. We were constantly just immersed in music. And I just assumed that's how life would go. And then somewhere around 99 or so, I got sucked into this weird world of enterprise software. And I kept getting jobs and money and kept growing in my career. And that sort of just took off. But at the same time, I had this parallel universe of music. And in particular, my favorite record label was throwing a 10-year anniversary party in London in 1999. I was still in the States at that point. I now live in London, largely because of that experience. But they also had a job posting. And it was for a guy to come in or a person to come in and work on their website. And that's what I did. I made websites. I loved music. I loved this record label. So I remember I had to ask what a CV was. because I had no idea. And I applied for it. I eventually came to London, went to these shows, talked to the guy, and like 2 seconds later, he's like, "F off, mate. Like, you're never going to get this job," which was totally fair. But I was convinced, like, I'll just move here and do this. And so, really, the thesis that I wrote down then was all about sort of building communities and connections around the artist, around the music itself, and creating these immersive experiences just about them. Not just, blindly, oh, here's our record label, here's all the music we have, but like, I care about this person, I care about this sound, I care about this album. And that was the bit that really started it all. And then flash forward a few years, sometime 2002, 2004, I know where I lived. I don't know which day it was, but I sorted my iTunes library by the number of times I played each song. And I saw these songs that I played 100 plus times. I was like, these songs are just like, they're me. They're ingrained in my soul. I can sing them backwards, forwards, upside down, back, it didn't matter. And I remember thinking I spent 99 cents on these songs. Some of these songs I may have even found on the internet. They were just like laying around. And it was like, how can that be? How can something so important be a trivial one time expense? And I never have to say anything again. And then, of course, if you remember back then, I don't know how old you are and I don't want to guess, but
You're welcome to if you want.
no, no, all good. To share music with your friends, you had to upload the file. You had to steal it all over again, right? There was no way to just say like, oh, hey, it's a URL. Oh, go here and press play, like you can with YouTube or even Spotify now. So to me, the original ideas were sort of baked around like caring about artists, caring about music, and finding a way to share but still compensate those people for what they did. And to me, that was just a simple pay for play model that became foreplay today. Now, obviously, a lot of time transpired between now and then. So let's dig into that story too.
Whenever I speak to founders, I often get into this conversation about something that was like unignorable, right? And it's something that they couldn't get rid of. In your case, it sounds like it was music and the passion for music. I too,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
to age myself, the 90s was the best decade ever for music,
of
in
course.
my opinion.
Yeah,
Across all genres. Like it was,
yes.
I'm the most eclectic person when it comes to music. I'll listen to pretty much anything. But the interesting thing, I suppose, for you is you had this passion. You moved to London. Which record label was it? Your favorite record label?
Warp Records, just this
Warp
tiny
Records.
esoteric, yeah, electronic music. Do you know it?
EDM. EDM.
Yes,
Okay.
indeed. Yeah. So
Yeah. I was
yeah,
into God. I was into a lot back in the day. Fatboy Slim. I mean, I could
of
go through
course,
different phases, but
of
anyway,
course. Yeah,
that's not what
which is
this
the
is
best
about.
part about it, right?
Yeah. Inevitably, you moved to London. You didn't get the job. You then ended up in enterprise sales software.
Mhm.
You mentioned when we spoke before about how you could do it in your sleep. You were really good
Mhm.
at it, but clearly it wasn't about the money. It isn't for most of us. It's about a passion. I guess what drove you to think this is better than a fleeting good idea? Because from what I
Yeah.
understand of what you said so far, you talked about this idea of being able to share music, artists
Mhm.
getting their cut,
Mhm.
and what sort of changed it from an idea to like I got to do this now.
Yeah, and we're leaving out a bunch of detail here, so let me just try and color in a few more blocks. In 2004, I moved to San Francisco. I was working for a Bay Area based startup. I was in Columbus, Ohio. That's where I grew up, which I don't often admit, and just did that here on a podcast. So my secret's out. But I had a colleague who was brought in by Kleiner Perkins. John Doerr was on the board of this startup. It was an absurd sort of thing where in Fortune magazine there was a poll quote from him saying the business we were in could be as big as the TV or the car. We sold for pennies on the dollar. I didn't make a dime. But this colleague of mine became a friend, and he said, "Look, you're good, but you got to be out here in California in the Bay Area if you want to be great. You got to go against the top people each and every day, even if it sets you back, even if it causes your career to go into a bit of a tailspin as you reacclimate and get up to speed. Do it." And I just so happened to be able to move out in 2004. And sure enough, I mean, it took me a couple of years, but it was this incredible experience to go against everything I was reading about at the time, I was seeing it right there kind of happening. I used to work on South Park where Twitter was formed. Instagram was right around the corner. Like these people were all kind of living and breathing the same air. And I was working in enterprise software on clean tech, smart tech, sort of smart grid software. We were trying to internet work the electric grid with baby monitor radios in the early 2000s, right? We kind of give you a feeling for what life was like back then. And then the Web 2.0 craze, all these things kept coming in. And to get to the question you asked, Mikey, this would come around every few years and sort of shake me and say like, "Hey, I'm not out. I haven't forgotten
Not
you.
done
Like
yet.
we're still going to
Yeah.
do this." Yeah. And I would kind of poke around on it. And frankly, I always struggled to come up with a name for it. So I never really had anything to like hang myself on or hang on to. It was always just this thing that floated out there. And I would meet various people. I somehow got connected to employee number three at Napster. And I pitched him the idea over a beer, and he was like, "I love it. Don't do it. It's a terrible industry. Just don't do it." And I was like, "Okay, but," and everything he just shut down. And then I somehow got connected into the VCs that funded Spotify right as their hockey stick growth took off, and he sort of just disabused me of it. He was like, "You don't get it, man. It's not about the music. It's about equity. It's about this new economy. It's about just pulling all the money out of the system for a handful of people." And I was like, "God, this kind of sucks, right?" Like I can't accept this. And so I would set it aside. But I think my first takeaway is like these things that never go away, you got to honor that. You got to listen to that. That pull is real. There's a part of you that knows that's where you belong, or there's something larger in the universe that's like, "Hey, the real work's over here." And for me, I think I had to get a level of experience, comfort with work I do, and I may have waited too long, but I had a family. I didn't have the means to just go off and say, "I quit. I'm going to go do this thing." Until late 23, early 24. I'd moved to London in 22. I'd moved to Berlin in 21. So I kind of got out of the Bay Area bubble and started to see the world a little differently. And just being in London, surrounded by music each and every day, it became this like unavoidable. I got to do this. I know I can do the other thing that's always going to be there. Maybe, maybe not, but like this music thing may not last forever. And if I don't try, if I don't put myself out there, well, that's a regret I don't think I can handle. So long-winded answer, sorry.
It sounds like what you said is you had this idea, you knew you wanted to be a part of it. Everybody told you there was no point because
Yeah.
the business model just eats artists
Yep.
for breakfast. It isn't
Yep.
about them, it's about making a few people rich. And then of course you get to the point where you've obviously had a family, you kind of got the commitments. Like everybody has this. And actually
Yeah.
one of my
Yeah.
very first jobs, I'll never forget, when I left university, after I finished university, went to London. That was always the plan, to go and work in London. And I remember I sat down with one of the guys who was about 10 years older than me and had been in the industry, sales, recruitment, and said
Amazing.
to me, because I naturally said, "You're doing so well, blah, 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 blah,"
Yeah.
the numbers.
Yeah.
And he said to me something I'll never forget. He said, "Get out now before it's too late." And I said, what
Oh,
do you
wow.
mean? And he
Yeah.
said, "The problem is I can't get the same salary to basically maintain my current lifestyle doing anything else. I'm stuck."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And he said, "Get out before you get stuck and do something that you
Interesting.
really want to do." And that was my first glimpse. And I think that was 21. That was when
Wow.
I first went, holy blank.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that I don't end up in something that's just about money. Anyway, but it sounds like you had a fairly similar thing within yourself. When everybody's
Yes.
saying don't do it, you're like, "I'm gonna do it."
Yeah, it was always a question of when, not if. Thinking back to end of 23, 24, I'd been at my job for about 2 years. I'd kind of come back to the same spot, like nothing was moving as quickly or as well as I had hoped. And I'm glossing over a period of my life in mid 2010s where I worked at just this incredible company. It was the engineering culture, the product culture, the just we were prolific. We did more in a week than I did in months at any other job, and it was high quality. We shipped every commit. We were constantly moving, constantly learning, constantly growing, and it was just exhilarating. And so I've been chasing that high ever since, right? Chasing that feeling of like I'm in it. We're off, firing on all cylinders. We're doing everything. These are all terrible analogies. I don't know where they're coming from, but you follow the idea. Just the machinery of making software was so much fun. And so, coming to Europe was in many ways eye opening because I lost that inbuilt culture and that just understanding of like I could point monosyllabic grunt and my teams would take off running and deliver just amazing stuff. And then I got here and it was like, well, hold on, I don't actually know what you're talking about. I don't really know what you want from me. I've never seen that before. And so, the journey is sort of there's multiple paths through it, but for me it was like, hey, I want to build again, and I want to build with people who know how to build like me. People that I still talk to every day, people that are working in places where they don't get to do that, people that are at a level of their career where they can pick and choose what they want to work on. And so, there's all these threads that sort of came together at the end of 23, early 24, where it was like, I can't ignore this anymore. And at the same time, my boss and I kind of came to an agreement that like, hey, let's part ways. And so there was a big gulp and a tough conversation with my wife to say, let's try and do this. At that time, remember the market had cratered. The jobs, like every job I've had in my career until that point, when I left a company, I made more money at the next place. I got a better, bigger title, bigger role, whatever, bigger remit. And for the first time, it was all gone. There was nothing there. And so the bet very quickly became, yeah, I need to go create something because chances are I may never find something like that again. So there's a bit of an existential pull in there as well as in addition to the passion and the pure joy of working on music, there was a reality of, oh, I better figure this thing out, right? It's time for me to put up or shut up.
Taking that point, right? If you kind of got to the point where you were thinking to yourself, I need to do this, I need to go create. Just going back, if you don't mind, like when you got those other roles and
Mhm.
you were kind of moving up, as you say,
Yes.
how did that feel? Was it like I'm not going to put
Oh,
words in your mouth, but yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
yeah,
amazing. Every single leap forward was, well, the equal parts, oh no, how did I get this job? And also, how amazing that I get to figure this out. For the longest time, my Twitter bio, which I left a long time ago, but was my favorite thing forever, was I get lost to find myself. I was like, I don't want to step into a job that I know how to do. That's just not very interesting. And, each time I sort of managed to talk my way into or somehow convince people to trust me and to take on, I ran a Postgres business at Heroku. I've never written a line of Postgres in my life. The old joke was select star from star where star equals star, which gives you everything. That's not true. That doesn't actually work that way. So there's just all these layers of I knew enough to get in that situation. I knew how to work with people. I knew how to work with the business. I knew how to work with sales. I knew how to sort of work with the machine. It was exhilarating, right? But after a while, it became sort of empty. It was like, yeah, okay, I've seen this movie. I know how it ends. I'm not retiring off this, right? I might get a Camry. That's cool. I could probably get a Camry today. That was my old joke when I first moved to the Bay Area. I never did get a Camry though. That's funny. But it just became clear that like I was playing someone else's game
yeah.
and not well, not great for them. Like I kind of even realized, Mikey, I'm kind of unemployable. I'm not a good employee, right?
The-
I see things and I want to go do stuff and to get stymied and to have people question that and to be like, well, God, am I dumb? Did I just not get it? Or, just the constant like budget battles and head count and, lick the fingers, stick it up to the wind. Which way is the wind blowing? Should I pitch it this way? Should I come in hard this way? I was like, this is just kind of soul sucking and not fun anymore. And what I sort of realized along the way is that we're all making it up as we go, right? I
100%.
mean,
And I
all
wish,
making it up. Yeah.
yeah. And that's the fun part. Your Twitter bio, which you left,
Yes.
the idea of getting lost to find yourself is
Yes.
essentially the I love that, because
Thank you.
that's the idea of basically just throwing ourselves out there, and
Yeah.
as human beings, we naturally, as we get older, the saying is, as you get older, you get more inclined to go for comfort
Yeah.
over something new. And actually, again, I don't know your age either, and I don't need to. But the point is, you get to that point where you go, I'm still going to do this. I'm going to go for this. So age, I'm sure you would agree with this. Age and being stuck in something, for 25 years or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
shouldn't be a reason for you not to go for that thing that you really want to do.
Mhm.
Why do you believe that? Because I know you and I discussed that, and like, what's your own personal philosophy on why you have to
I
do it?
don't know that I have a philosophy per se, but I think at a certain point you have to honor that incoming feedback or that sort of information from the universe that, look, yeah, you've done this for so long, but hey, there's this thing over here that's kind of set up for you to go do, right? I had no answers when I started this thing. I spent 6 months trying to figure out my visa situation. I had to go get, a bank account for the business, get my VAT register, I had to do everything from scratch,
Adult
right?
stuff.
I had zero credibility in the music industry. I've never worked in the music industry before. My career, my network, my name was all in enterprise software. So I remember going to a conference from sort of my old life and thinking, none of these people can help me. How amazing is that? I know all these people and nobody can do anything for me. There were a few connections that I was able to navigate to, but I basically had to start over. And, I don't say that to crow or to make myself feel good. It's purely insane. What I did was ridiculous, right? And bet our savings and bet our comfort and bet our children's futures in many ways, right? Who are extremely happy here and love living in London, and it took me 23 years to convince my wife to move here. She came with me in 1999 as my girlfriend. And so, like, in some ways, I feel like I'm living my life in reverse, or the things that are happening now only make sense now because of everything that happened before. And to an extent, I don't feel like I have a choice. I have to do this work. I may still fail. I may still flop. I may still, I could run out of money. I could run out of energy or what have you. Um, but I couldn't not try this. And I think maybe the other thing that I haven't mentioned is that I felt like the time was right in the market as well. And maybe that's a great segue into who in the world thinks it's a good idea to take on Spotify now? Uh, what are you thinking, Scott?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
You're the host.
yeah, of course, of course. So, I mean, you spoke about, to touch on that point and taking on Spotify head on, you spoke about ignoring the investor who wanted to whittle it down and
Yeah.
test prematurely. What do you think the single fastest way a founder can use to shut down the voices, and I guess know the difference between good
Yeah.
value
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
bad advice?
Yeah, I don't think this was bad advice per se, but it forced me to reconcile something that I hadn't yet figured out. I was a product manager for a very long time. And product managers in my world were asked to do three things: to figure out who we're serving, figure out what we're going to build for them, and figure out why it's this thing over everything else, and why we go now, why we go here, why we do all this, right? And so who, what, why became just like drilled into my head. I could answer that in my sleep again. Um, and I learned to sort of find this alignment in all three of those questions, and to be able to say, like, this all feels consistent. And I could feel when it was jagged or when it was off or when I was compressed and it didn't quite sit well with me, right? And, I'll say maybe the first year I've been working on Foreplay for almost 2 years. I really started April of 24, officially like full on heads down working on this thing. And that first year was a lot of really crooked, uncomfortable feelings in my body, in my head, and my whole being, right? And anytime this sort of stimulus came in where it was like, you need to be over here, or you can't do it that way, or what in the world are you thinking? And whoa, 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 get back in line. It was like another sort of just, my body would almost feel these the blow. And it was like, okay, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel like what I see and what I believe to be true. And so a lot of times I had to just sit with it and I had to let it sort of take its effect on me and realize that no, that's not right. That isn't what I'm going to do. That isn't what we need to do in this moment. And as a matter of fact, going down that path is a dead end. And I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. Right. It's sort of this defiance and this equal parts delusion. But it's like I see a thing. I believe so strongly in it. I don't know the exact path to it, but I know that's not going to get me there. And so I'm not even going to entertain it, right? I may be wrong. This investor may have been spot on. I don't know. But that was a different business from the one I was pitching. And it really was a foundational moment for me to understand I did have clarity. I did know what I wanted, and I do know how to get there. I may not know everything along that journey, but I know what the destination looks like. And I think ultimately, for me at least, I have to sit in that. I have to feel that. I have to feel the compression and the crunchiness and know that, yeah, that's not it. That's not right. I can't do that. I see this thing and I'm going to go for it. So is it a philosophy? I don't know. It is something I've learned to sort of bring in and sit with in a sort of almost, I wouldn't call it meditation, but I think it's like you try it on. Does it fit? Does it feel right? Can you move around? No, it doesn't. This is actually really uncomfortable. I'm going to take that off and I'm going to find something that does work for me.
It's interesting because you're talking from what I've heard you say about the idea of like the mental, physical impact
Mhm,
of kind of charting your own journey and knowing where you're trying to get, but like the
mhm.
uncomfortable truth about running your own
Yeah,
business and just
yeah,
like, oh my God, I all this stuff's coming at me
yeah,
and it's me
yeah.
and your business partner
Yes,
making
yes.
all
Thankfully.
these
Yeah.
decisions. The interesting question for me, and like I know every founder listening, is how do you, so you talk about meditation helping you talk about taking a step back and trying to realize the difference between
Mhm,
the fear and
mhm.
actual patterns. What advice would you give a founder who's in that uncomfortable world like you have been and are
Yeah,
about
yeah.
how to navigate that?
I think you need to lean into it. I remember early in my product manager career getting kind of caught out on some ambiguity and uncertainty that I didn't understand. And so we just sort of like, well, we'll deal with that later, right? And went headfirst into the wall. And so I learned the hard way to sort of say like, okay, what's happening around me? What do I understand? What don't I understand? What do I know I don't know? That old chestnut of I know I don't know that. I don't know I don't know that, and you can fill in the rest. But to me, it's answering those uncomfortable questions, and even just feeling the discomfort in not knowing the answers or even the right questions to answer. And I became hyper tuned to just this weird absence of certainty, which is a strange thing to talk about as an entrepreneur when so much of it is like, I'm certain. I mean, I just did 5 minutes
Well, that
soliloquy on this, like, I know better than everyone, right? But I know because I've sat with all the other stuff and I've dwelled on and like bathed in this discomfort for so long to know, hey, that isn't it. I'm not going there. I know this is the path I need to be on. Now, that path may diverge and new information may come in and I'll be able to process and handle that. But like sitting with the discomfort is a really important thing to do. And I haven't found a shortcut around it, unfortunately. I think this is part of the deep end.
One of the many reasons why I thought you'd be a great guest for founders listening is because you're so open about
Oh,
the
yeah. Why not?
if you
Right?
go well, yeah, I'm the same. Like
Yeah.
I've been through plenty of this isn't about me, but I've been through plenty of ups and downs through the years. And the one thing that I'd say is the honesty that you share about the fact of not knowing. And by the way,
Mhm.
none of us know. We know it's
No.
like a GPS with a destination
Yeah.
and no
Yeah.
route planner.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
it's like zero GPS.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
Um,
vague destination. Yeah.
yeah. And it would change, and it's okay if it changes
Yeah.
and adapts to get you to where you
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. That's
Sometimes,
the feature. Yeah.
yeah. And so you talk about this idea of getting comfortable with the uncertainty.
Mhm.
How do you maintain like a clarity of purpose for yourself when you have, to use a quote from our last conversation, no idea how, I have
Uh-huh.
no idea when.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew you'd
How
bring
do
that
you,
back.
yeah.
Well, I think this is the ultimate sort of honest ground level truth. We don't control anything, right? As an entrepreneur, the things in my control are basically our budget, our money, our spend, and our focus. I remember seeing this quote from Andy Dunn, the CEO of Bonobos, who sold his company to Walmart, and he said there's only two things the CEO can do, and that is to oh shit, I'm blanking. Okay, let's skip this part entirely. I'm so sorry. That's such a great anecdote. It's
Is it slipped
you
your
can edit
mind?
this out. Yeah.
Um,
It's oh
well,
shit. I got it. I got it. I got it. Okay.
yeah. There you
Should
go.
I
So
sort of
I'm gonna
take it
leave.
from
I'm
this?
gonna leave. I'm gonna leave. No, I'm gonna. The thing is, this is the truth of
Okay, good.
podcasting. We're
Well, then
just
let's go for it.
humans.
So I choked on
Yeah,
my own words, but I remembered two
yeah.
things: create hope, define reality. And it's dealing in this duality of like, yes, this is the dream, and yes, this is what we're going for. But look, here's the reality of the situation. We don't know this, we don't know that. We have no idea where our money's coming from. We don't like on and on and on and on and on. And it's this sort of willful, it isn't delusion or ignorance, but it's holding both those truths in your mind at the same time. Yes, objectively true. Our reality sucks right now, right? But we remain hopeful and we've got a big idea that we're chasing. And until that proves impossible, we're going for it, right? And I think it's this tension between the two that is tough. But being a product manager for so long, well, that was sort of the world I lived in, right? Here's the state of the backlog. Here's the state of the product. We got all these bugs. We got all these customers angry with us. We need to do all these other things. We've got operational burden. We've got on-call engineers burned out. Like we can't deal with another incident. And yet, hey, we're building this really amazing thing. And if we keep at it, if we keep making incremental progress, we're going to get to something really great. And there's lessons in there that I take into the business to honor both sides, to not get too high on your own supply on either side, but to realize that yeah, both those things are true, and you still need to find a way through. And
And
that
it,
is, there's no art to that. That is just hard living.
and just to take that point for anybody listening, I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly agree with what Scott said. One of the people that made me realize that was then one of those actors tables where I think it was either Seth Rogen or Tom Hanks, very different people, but they were talking about the idea that effectively you just have to keep going and
Yeah.
eventually it will work out because most
Or
people
not.
will give
Yeah.
up
Yeah. Yeah.
or not.
Yeah.
But the point is you have to stick with it and believe in what you're doing. That belief
Yeah.
will take you, even if it's not directly to the thing, it might be adjacent to the thing. That's far better than being stuck in a life doing a thing that you don't enjoy for money. Because and that's I'm just saying that's my personal opinion because I've been there and done the
It's not a
money and
bad life. I did it for a
yeah.
long time, but I found
No,
myself sort of, I got a friend who talks about spiritual unemployment. Like, yeah, you're making money. Yeah, you got the title. Yeah, life looks great from the outside. We're going out to dinner. We're going on the holiday. We're doing all the things, right? But on the inside, you're like, this can't be it. Is this it? This is what I worked so hard to build? And now I'm just sort of in this thing where it's like, yeah, I get up, I do my job, I come home, I eat dinner, I pick up for another couple hours because I don't get anything done at work, and this is start all over again tomorrow. Is that what I want to be? Is that it? And for me, after a while, there's parts of my old life I miss. I genuinely enjoyed the work I was doing. I enjoyed the people I worked with, but I love what I'm doing now, even though the pay is shit and the stress is insurmountable at times. And there are days I just want to like curl up under the covers and make it all go away. I also like wake up and say like, let's go. This is great. I can't wait. I can't believe I get to do this again. And every day I get a little better. I get a little sharper in spite of what you might think from this podcast. I get a little better at telling the story and just being me in this moment, which is 95% of it, right?
I mentioned to you on our first call, I've had failures over the years with businesses.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I'd say is that I wouldn't change it for the world. Even though I've had all of that, I call that experience, not failure.
100%.
You learn what not to do.
Yes. Yeah.
And ultimately just being able to make your own decisions and do your own thing and take this thing, whatever your thing is, and whatever direction you want to take it, that is yours. Truly yours. That's special.
Yeah, and there are times I feel like I'm almost a caretaker for it, which maybe sounds grandiose, but like the work is so much bigger than me. And this is something my therapist many years always was like pounding into my head and into my heart as well. Like, what are you serving? What are you like? What is the larger thing, right? And I just love that way of sort of relating to it. Of like, again, I have to do this. This isn't even about me anymore. Like, yeah, I mean, I try very hard to pull myself out of this company, so it's not the Scott Truitt show, right? Partially because of my co-founder who 100% right there with me. Partially because this has to be bigger than me. I'm not battling Daniel Eck. I'm not battling anybody. I'm just trying to build a thing that I want to exist, that I believe needs to be in the world, and I'm willing to pay the price to do it. Is kind of the moral of the story, right? And after a while, well, that really is freeing and allows me to really focus in on the how can I be of service? How can I be most helpful? What can I do to move this forward? As opposed to what do I get out of this? What when does my name go up in the lights? When do I get put on all the guest lists? When do I get to go have the keynote at this? I don't care about any of that stuff, right?
Yeah,
I'll just do your podcast for the rest of my life. This is great.
So touching on that point, right? Like it's same with me. I don't really care about the things I thought I cared about. I just care about having fun, making a difference, and helping people move forward. The key thing is you touched on this amazing thing when we spoke first time about your pattern recognition rule, where you said once is a data point, 2 points is a line, and 3 points is a curve.
Yeah.
How do you think founders with an idea, or maybe further forward, with some, an MVP or the right go-to-market stage, how do you think they can apply that simple logic of the once is a data point, 2 is a line, and 3 is a curve to their own life and business?
It's always been a shortcut for me. And it's sort of something I've picked up over the years of just sort of being ambiently aware. It's not like I'm going out and looking for data points, right? But I distinctly remember being in a conversation at my old job at a massive bank in a windowless conference room, and there was no air, and we were 90 minutes in, and this guy said something that I was like, oh my God, that's amazing, right? And then 2 days later, in a completely different kind of meeting, somebody said something very, very similar, but just a little different. I was like, okay, whoa. Like, what is going on here? I've got 2 really clear data points, very close together, highest echelon of these businesses. Like, this is interesting. And then I think it was maybe a week or so later, I got the 3rd data point. By that point, I was like, give it to me. Come on, I know it's out there. Where is it? Right? And it just was this sort of thing that like I see that curve, I see that pattern. Now I'm just sort of looking for that final shoot, what's the word I'm looking for? Confirmation, right? And so much of this early stage stuff is you're projecting into the world you think will need a product like yours, right? And I'm talking to record labels, I'm talking to artists, independent artists, I'm talking to all these different people, and sort of projecting them into my product and into a world where this thing exists, and how do they react to that, and what are those sort of little flares that shoot out in remarks or anecdotes or just these little data points. And to me, that's the most interesting thing, is like just seeing these little glimmers and being like, okay, I see where that stacks up. I see how that progresses. And by the converse, like you can think of ideas that are just sort of trailing off. And there's not a lot of heat. There's not a lot of rapid fire, like, oh, okay, I'm seeing the same thing. It's just sort of like, one month, maybe 2 months down the line, maybe 6 months down the line, you realize that there's just nothing there, right? When there's a lot of heat, a lot of like excitement, that's when I tend to get really engaged and like, oh, okay, I see it, I see it, I see it. I know what to do now. Right. And so I think again, it's just being attuned to the world, the market you're in, the people you talk to, and what are those, like no one ever says, gosh, you know what I need, Scott? I need a pay for play social and streaming platform that allows me to directly connect with my favorite fans, put out music whenever I want, get payment right away. Like no one ever is going to come in and say, here's the business, just build it for me, right? There's never any sort of feedback like that. Like in all my years of doing it, it's never been this like, here's the recipe, bake me a cake. It's always been like, yeah, we really struggle here. Or this is a constant source of frustration. We get stymied on this every time. Like we would love to be able to, it's these sort of anecdotes that seem innocuous and seem sort of like throwaway almost. It's like, that's the grist for the mill. That's the thing I've been looking for. Oh my God, if I could solve that problem for you, that's something, huh? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, wait, how would you solve that problem? Right. And now we're in this sort of co-creation space, which is just, amazing for any product thinker like me. So um, again, deep listening, being aware, kind of knowing your narrative, but also looking for these points of connection and draw that curve. And when it's pointing up, like go for it.
You talk about effectively having the platform be focused on the artists,
Yeah.
instant payments, direct to their fans.
Yep.
I take it the pattern that you learnt or had heard was that artists were being underpaid.
Mhm.
Fans were not feeling as connected, or they weren't clear as to how their subscription or whatever,
Yep. Yep.
how much that was benefiting the artist that they loved
Yep.
listening to.
Yep.
So what you're really talking about is the idea of almost having a, this shows my age, radio station with
Yeah.
just your favorite artists and
Yeah. Yeah.
making sure that they get the reward for giving you the
Yeah.
joy, the feeling, the love that you get from
Yep.
their music.
Yep. Yeah. And then a community of people that are also doing that and finding those overlaps and those connections and finding these ways to sort of bring people together. Like, I'm sure you and I have tons of songs that we both love, Mikey, but I have no way of knowing what they are. If I want to make a playlist with my wife, a collaborative playlist of the songs we both love, I have to send her a spreadsheet every week of here's the songs I love now. These are the new ones. Will you please listen to me and tick off if you like them, right? That's the dumbest thing in the world. Like this stuff is just hiding in plain sight. But it wasn't like the systems we have today, the services we have today weren't built to bring people together. They were built to extract value for a handful of people. And that's all fine and good. That's the way we did it for so long. But I think that the real opportunity is to flip it in the other direction. Everything's going AI, everything's AI slop, everything is just sort of like anti-human. What's the opposite of that? Because that's the world I want to be in. And that's the world I want to spend my money, my time, my energy in. That's the thing I want to dedicate my life to. The idea that like my kids don't spend any money on music. I was a broke 25-year-old and I spent more on music than I do today as a father of two teenagers and a family of four. And, if I had $5 as a 12-year-old, that was gone in a half hour. That was the time it took me to go to the record store and back, right? And occasionally it was the arcade, or occasionally it was, some food or whatever, some goofing around with my friends. But like, that was so important for me to be able to say, I value this thing and I want to have this thing in my life. And I think when we start thinking about the money we spend and the things we spend our money on, that changes our relationship to them. And for so long, we've been sort of obfuscated away from that. We've been detached from the consequences of our spending. And somebody commented on one of my posts today, and it's like, she wasn't saying she felt powerless, but it's like, I can see all this stuff, but I can't. What do I do about it? Right? Like, I don't want to hear ice ads on Spotify. I just want to listen to music. I don't want to be reminded of all this terrible stuff. And sorry, that's a very American thing to say.
So ICE is
Yeah,
Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and they're doing some pretty inhumane
yeah,
things,
yeah,
in my
yeah.
opinion.
And mine as well. And the fact that this music that gives us life, and that this expression of love and community connection, all these wonderful things, and then this jarring, just like, what in the world is this doing here? I'm not the target market for that. And that's the world we just sort of live in now, where like, even when I want to watch football highlights of my club, and it's like, I gotta sit through 90 seconds of unskippable ads to watch 3 minutes of football. Like, surely there's a way for me to just pay for the highlights. Just let me watch the thing I want to watch, right? Better yet, bring it to me. Like, it just hook me up on a drip feed. I live for this stuff, right? And so I think, like, when you start to shift your perspective on these things, then like, new worlds become possible, and new experiences become very palatable. And that's what we're betting on. Like, that there's enough of us out there, and that once you get a taste of that, like, I don't have to deal with this crap anymore. I don't have to sign my life away to 837 data partners to track me everywhere I go just because I
Correct.
want to play a
Yeah.
song, right? I just want to listen to music, and I want to know that when I listen to that music, that the people who made it get paid. Simple equation. And that's the goal, right? I know one of the things you mentioned in our previous conversation was like, what's the hardest thing to get over with the music industry? And oddly enough, it's that one, that like, you should get paid when somebody plays your song, whether they liked it or not. You should get paid. You made a thing. And
That's the way the radio worked.
yeah, not a
I'm
lot of
pretty
money,
sure it
but there
still
was
does.
some
Yeah.
money. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there was also a built-in gatekeeper, and that game, it got played by a certain number of people that could afford to, and that's basically what Spotify has become now. And all I'm simply saying is like, let's just break it apart and have the music lover and the music maker together again. And if we can do that, then you don't have to go against Taylor Swift to get paid. You just make the music that I want to hear, and I'll be there, take my money every
and
time.
and and I think a lot of people don't. So like, you're spot on. The model is like what's the word I'm looking for? It's very there's a lot. It's very confusing, because as a consumer, we pay whatever it is, $9.99 for Spotify, um, and we basically, the money goes into the pot. We have no clue what happens afterwards. The same is true of Netflix. The same is true of
Yep,
Amazon Prime. The same is true
yep,
of any other
all the things.
subscription
Yep,
service. It's
yep,
convenient, but if you want more of the thing that brings you joy,
yeah,
and for the people who created that for your benefit to benefit from that, then
yes,
this is what you've done. I love that you're spot on. Like, it is a huge problem. It's a
yeah.
huge problem that nobody fully understands, because it is purposely confusing.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You just put it
100%.
into a pot, and who knows who gets
Hey,
what.
we all get
They
a
do.
little something. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But nobody really knows anything. And
And
um
yeah, it turns out most people don't make any money at all. They spend more than they make.
given that it's such a hard industry to crack, and you are a brave soul, and I really, really, really admire what you're doing, and I think it's fabulous. It's going back to the days when we used to go to the record shop, the local
Yeah.
record shop. I loved it.
Yeah.
What do you think, like, the hardest thing to tackle for you when you're thinking about how to build this monetization model that suits the lover, listener, and the
Yeah.
musician?
Yeah. This was a lesson I learned probably halfway through, so 8, 9 months ago. I was trying to get people to yes. I was trying to convince people like, "Oh, you see like how good this could be, right?" And I was doing my little sales pitch and trying to walk people through things. And I realized I think I read this in a post somewhere on LinkedIn, and it was like, you want to get people to know as fast as you possibly can. Hey, would you go for something like this? No. Thank you for your time. I'll talk to you in 6 months. And just like keep going until you find the person that's like, oh my god, that sounds amazing. Like, well, how would we what would we do? And when people start to lean forward and get into the conversation, it's like, okay, I'm going to focus on you now. Let's go figure this thing out, right? And then it's about getting that repeatable pattern that you can go to people and say, okay, here's what I'm working on over here. Here's how I think this works for you. Is this something that would be interesting? Should we continue? And it's a totally different conversation. I don't know what prompted that, but yeah, spot on, guy. So my Zoom etiquette is lacking. I don't do this as often as I should, where I'm demonstrative with my hands. But at any rate, it's just getting to know so you can find the people that will say yes. And for us, we aren't going to have Spotify's catalog at launch. Totally fine. But we'll find those 500 artists that are dead set on doing this thing a different way. And we'll go prove it with them. And we'll bring in 1,000 of their fans, and we'll go and we'll iterate until we get to 1,000 artists and 2,000 fans, right? We'll just keep going. And it's that sort of thing that we're trying to hit critical mass on the catalog side. We're trying to hit, a compelling product. We're trying to figure out the message that's going to take this thing out and really resonate with our core group, our core audience, and moving all three of those things forward to the point where we can say, you know what, this feels good, let's launch, let's go. And bear in mind, like within that is a whole lot of legal negotiations and a whole lot of pain and just getting the legal rights to be able to stream music. So that basically is a nutshell of my last 18, 24 months of trying to crack that nut and trying to find a way to move people forward with this bigger vision. And way harder than I ever would have imagined. Just way, way, way harder. And somehow the music industry is more risk averse and conservative than any bank or insurance company I worked in my former life, and technically backwards. Like they're still, SFTPing XML files. It's like, oh my God, are you serious? There are glimmers of hope. There's a lot of people trying to change that. There's a well understood movement around metadata and the importance of attribution and understanding who gets paid and how this all fits together. But it's an archaic system in which a handful of people got really wealthy gaming it. And so to come in and saying like, I'm going to shake this all up and I'm going to rearrange it until it's just the people that count, is an act of war for a lot of people. So I'm sure I'm stepping on toes and I'm sure I'm causing trouble, but I try to stay pure and focused on why and what we're trying to do and for whom. I believe that will carry me through, but I'll come back in 6, 12 months and we'll figure out where I landed.
I think what you're doing, right, is amazing, is necessary, especially in an age where we over the last 5 years, we've talked about NFTs, cryptocurrencies, digital assets. We've talked about Spotify. Like there's all these things that are very intangible and in the end go to very few people. And your industry, the industry you're trying to tackle, is very centralized. There's X number of publishers who bought all the other little publishers, and they have a lot of the power. The artists naturally go there because they go, well, you'll expose me to blah, 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 blah. You've already got all the agreements. Whereas the model you're proposing is work direct with Foreplay, and you will get paid per listen, per play for the user. And as a user, listener, whatever, what's going to the artist. There's no
Yeah.
mystery. Your
Yeah. Yeah.
favorite artists
Completely
who bring you the
transparent.
most
Yep.
joy get
Yep.
the biggest cut of whatever you spent.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. Yeah. Whether you listen to it 10 times or 100 times, like you're paying every time. And it's not a huge amount of money, but it does add up. And I had a guy, this wonderful conversation, and he was like, "Wait a second, if I pay a song 100 times, I'm paying you 4 quid." I was like, "You must love that song." He was like, "Oh, well, yeah, I mean, but I could just buy it for like 99p." Like, yeah, you could, but at what point did you decide that's what you wanted to do? Right? And he's like, "Well, after I've spent a pound, I should get that song for free forever." And I was like, "Should you?" Like, I still have a cost to serve that song to you, and that artist, well, they're not making any money anymore because they hit this imaginary threshold that Steve Jobs decided 20 years ago, and, like, make it make sense, right? And to me, like, what's the simplest thing that will work? What's the, like, don't make me think level of interaction here? And that is when I press play, I'm paying 4p to listen to a song. 60% of that goes to the artist, 20% of that goes to our costs. And then we've got a little margin at the top, at scale where we can sustain the business. So we don't have to do things like screw over artists or screw you over and start selling your data and manipulating your attention and sending you music you don't want to hear because somebody's going to give us a little more money if we get them in the charts or whatever stupid games people play in the industry today. It's just what you see is what you get. Right? You ask for it, we deliver it. This is where I need some marketing help, Mikey. So we'll talk again later. But it really is just like, how do you boil this thing down to a level of don't make me think? It just is what it is.
My immediate thought is I love the idea of the artist getting the money. I love
Yeah.
the idea of the artist I listen to most getting most of my money.
Yeah.
I love the idea of trying to cut out the all the different there's a story to tell, which is in this confusing world we live in, where we are served with ads all the time, where we
Yep.
are traded behind the scenes, behind this mystery curtain a
Hmm.
million times over, and then marketed to again and potentially manipulated, because the more that they know, whether intentionally or unintentionally, the more they know about us, the more that can
Yeah.
be used by somebody else. Let's assume that
Absolutely.
they have perfect intentions, but the
Yep.
person who buys it doesn't. That's the challenge. The challenge is we are being traded without even knowing it.
Yep.
So it's not just about the artist, it's about
Yeah. Yeah.
you. One bit of feedback that I think you could employ pretty quickly
Yeah.
is the idea that I do think you and I may disagree on this slightly. The one thing that I think should happen when you get to a certain number of plays, whatever number we decide that is,
Yeah.
you've contributed enough to own that for your own personal use. I think
Hmm.
that is because some of my favorite songs I play, I don't know, I'd have to go and look, but a
Oh,
lot,
yeah.
right?
A lot. Yeah. Yeah.
And like, if we're dealing with the market reality, which is if the alternative for me is I go buy a CD
Yep.
of that thing, if that's
Yeah.
buying the thing, there is a cutoff point at which I do technically own it legally, personally, and
Yeah. Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah.
And that's the world we live in. I
Yeah.
think that there should be a play number where you officially own, and you are, you achieve certain levels within the platform
Yeah. Yeah.
where the community loves you for the fact that you are investing in this talent and
Yeah.
supporting it, but you're also an owner of a piece of
Yeah.
that talent for your own
Yeah.
personal use.
It's something we've considered, and thank you for that. I appreciate the where that comes from, which is, a deep love for the music and a recognition that, hey, I am invested in this thing, and I feel like I should have something to show for it, right? So it is weird. We kind of sit in this weird spot where there is no ownership. As someone who's moved internationally twice over the last few years, I have no desire to move my vinyl ever again. And I have even less desire to bring more physical items into my life. And I am maybe further down that path of saying, I'm okay not owning these things, or I want to own a select few things, or even saying, I still love this music and I'm willing to pay a tiny bit as a token gesture for how much it still means to me. And, I go back to those early 90s songs and like the hip hop of my youth and just the magic to hear these songs. It just puts me right back in that moment,
Yeah,
or
me too.
any
Me
number
too.
of moments along the years where it came back in some really interesting way, or there's some person to which we just deeply connect over this very specific thing. And I guess, on a certain level for me, that has a value far beyond 4p or even a pound. But this is new, and we'll have to figure out like where is that threshold for sure.
We'll have a chat off camera about this, but
Yeah,
the
yeah,
point is, I think there's a really cool way that you could
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
put that together, because it's not about, as you know, in the product world, it's not about you or me. It's about ultimately what the user listener,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
how we deliver the value that they, if that feature is a non-starter, then you're like, okay, we need to adapt our thinking
yeah,
here, which
yeah,
you
yeah.
seem totally open to. For the scaling founder, how do you like balance? You're kind of in that exciting part where you're realizing like you're going out and doing the thing and realizing that there are some challenges along the way.
Mhm.
How do you measure that? Like how do you keep that going alongside the obvious, financial realities and challenges and what you're trying to build? How do you feel you balance that best? And what if, I suppose, more than anything, what advice would you give to somebody who has the passion just like you do for
Yeah,
music or
yeah,
whatever it is, if it's Pokemon, I do whatever,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Where did that come from? Uh,
I
I
don't know.
think I go
Uh,
back to the quote I gave earlier about the create hope and define reality. I think you need to have a foot in each camp, and I've got a slide in my pitch deck that shows some pretty outlandish numbers, and people are always like, "Yeah, that those are cut that in half." I'm like, "Well, they used to be about 10x." So, like I did, and then some. And I leave it as an exercise to the viewer to say, well, is that number 50%? Is it 20%? That's still a big number, right? Now we can talk about what is more realistic and how do we actually get to these numbers, as opposed to, well, I'm going to continue to like lower it down and make it more modest and pretend that like, oh, I don't have big ambitions. I'm not trying to take on the world. We really didn't talk about the Spotify setup, even though that's how we led off here. And for anyone who lasted this long, here's your payoff. Like, of course, we're competing with Spotify. The question is where and on whose terms. And if we're going to compete with them head on, well, we're going to fail. We're going to fail miserably if we try to compete with YouTube head on. But if we come at it to the side, or if we come at it just below, or if we come at it even with a spot where they're not focused, then we have an opportunity to do something unique and potentially very valuable. And so much of what we've done over the last year or so is really just understanding the market, the nuance, where the opportunities are, and how we get our foot in the door, and how we establish who we are and what we mean, and how we grow from that point forward. And that's another episode for sure. But that is the real sort of meta work within all this. We can talk about the high level overview, and yeah, we want to go do all these things, but it's the iteration and the quick learning and refinement that goes on within those cycles that really is where the magic happens. I deeply love that work. I find it utterly fascinating to be able to just shift a couple game pieces around and see like, oh, well, that opens up this totally new flank that we hadn't considered. And if we focus here, then that opens up this bit that just really wasn't attainable for us before. And just being able to sort of map it all out and see it, and I'm by no means a mapping expert, but to have a mental model and to be able to play that game in real time is really, really fascinating stuff. And I think that's the meta work in all of this is it isn't just writing the mission or the vision or, you know, putting a website out or even putting a product out. It's what is that machinery behind the scenes that's going to continue to drive this thing forward and increase your likelihood of success. Maybe one last anecdote I learned 2 companies ago, and it was attributed to an investor who said, you know, you think you're hiring a VP of product, which is what I was, to come in and build product. But no, you're hiring a VP of product to build a machine that builds product. And when you got a machine, then you can put anything in that hopper and churn anything out. But if all you're doing is just building a product, well, you got one chance, right? And so, really thinking about this company as a machine that can churn out any number of realities, and being able to sort of game that out and figure out how to tune it, how to point it, is just like that's the work that gets me up. That's the work that keeps me up late and wakes me up in the morning, and I love that stuff. So, total cliffhanger, but we can come in and do that and do some more.
Yeah, we will. We will definitely have you back on the podcast. People do check out. I'll pop it into the show notes and into the description. Scott will come back and tell us how he's taking on David versus Goliath in
Yep.
real life in due course. But I'll pop everything down in the show notes description to Scott's website and to his LinkedIn, etc. So you can reach out and chat with him if you'd like to get on board with it. Scott, thank you.
Thank you, Mikey. This is fantastic. Yeah, we could do hours more, I'm sure.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for listening as well. Please do like, comment, subscribe, whatever options you have on whichever platform you're listening on right now. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you, Scott.